What is up, Mizzou fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, covering your Missouri Tigers, and we've got our first hit to the Missouri Tigers roster through the NCAA Transfer Portal that has already seen a lot of action following the end of the 2024 regular season. But unfortunately, the Missouri Tigers have now had their first notable player hit the transfer portal, and PowerMizzou.com is reporting that Missouri wide receiver Makai Miller is expected to enter the transfer portal. Sources tell PowerMizzou.com. Miller came to Mizzou in 2022 from Blue Valley North High School in Overland Park, Kansas, and chose the Tigers over the likes of Indiana, California, Illinois, and Iowa. In his freshman season, Miller burned his red shirt playing in all 13 games and recording 8 catches for 126 yards. In 2023, he played in 11 games and recorded 11 catches for 148 yards and a touchdown. This season, he appeared in all 12 games, but had just 3 catches for 35 yards. Obviously, you guys kind of get the gist there from that small snippet from PowerMizzou.com, but Makai Miller was a guy that came in here as a freshman and looked really promising. And over the past few years, he's made a lot of big clutch catches in big games. You can talk about the Arkansas catch from his freshman season, the one that basically sealed it, that big third down. He had a big catch in the Georgia game last year. He had another big catch in the Florida game to help set up Harrison Mevis' game-winning field goal. While Makai Miller never really produced that much or was not able to grab any consistent playing time, he had some good moments for this team, and it's kind of a shame that it never really fully panned out for him. This is a loss for Mizzou, in my opinion. This isn't a player that we're saying, whatever, don't let the door hit you on the way out. This isn't a player where we're saying, who is that? Never heard of him until he announced he was transferring. I mean, this is a guy that I think could have competed for playing time next year with Mookie Cooper, Theo Weiss, and of course Luther Burden, all graduating and moving on or going to the NFL draft. Makai Miller was in line for playing time if he were to stick around. But I also am not super shocked by this one. Makai Miller also, through 3 years, has not really produced all that much, and again was never able to nab the consistent playing time. And sometimes you can just see the writing on the wall. You can see some of these transfer portal entries coming. Makai Miller is one of those that I think I can say I saw coming, because when you're in year 3 and you're still not seeing that uptick in snaps and production that you want to see, and in fact he regressed last year, it's not hard to predict that that player might move on. I do still think that Makai Miller is a power 4 wide receiver. I just think he was a victim of the numbers game. Mizzou has been stacking talent at wide receiver. You still have Marquise Johnson. You have Joshua Manning, Daniel Blood, James Madison, Courtney Crutchfield. You got the incoming freshman, Donovan Olagbode, Sean Terry, Demarion Folks. I mean, you're loaded at wide receiver for the future. So Makai Miller maybe saw the writing on the wall as well. Hey, I'm not going to play here. I've done everything I needed to do, and I'm still not seeing the field all that much. Again, I still think he's a power 4 receiver. He just needs to find a home that has the playing time that he wants. But I do think he has the talent, and I also think that his skill set is not one that is really utilized all that much in this offense, at least not with Brady Cook at quarterback and with Kirby Moore as the offensive coordinator, because Makai Miller really thrived as a guy who could make catches in the middle of the field, from the slot, running underneath routes. Mizzou didn't really utilize the middle of the field on offense this year. Brady Cook didn't really throw passes in the middle of the field, only occasionally, and that's kind of where Makai Miller thrived, and it just wasn't a match, man. It didn't pan out that way, but I do think he'll find a good home somewhere. I think he'll be productive elsewhere. I mean, you saw the flashes, especially as a freshman. I mean, to burn your red shirt, playing all 13 games as a freshman, and make some of the big catches that he did, I just find it hard to believe that he's not going to be able to find a home somewhere else. So I understand this completely from Makai Miller's perspective. I understand his decision to enter the transfer portal. No hard feelings whatsoever. I wish him success going forward and hope he finds a good landing spot. Now, as far as the wide receiver position moving forward for the Missouri Tigers and how they should approach this, I think you need to add a veteran wide receiver in the portal, at least one this offseason. And I've been having this debate a little bit with Tigers fans on Twitter and social media because some people are saying that we don't need to add a receiver. Look at all the talent we have. And I don't disagree. Mizzou is super talented at wide receiver. I think they're set up great for the future. But I don't think they're set up great right now. You're not really proven there. Yeah, you have Marquise Johnson, you have Joshua Manning, but neither of them have even broken 400 yards receiving in a season in their collegiate career. I don't think either of those guys are a wide receiver one in the SEC. I think you need a wide receiver one. I think you need a stud transfer portal receiver. There's a lot of promise in the wide receiver room. There's not a lot of proven production or proven commodities. So Makai Miller just emphasizes more the need for a wide receiver in the transfer portal because he was one of your upperclassmen. He was going to be one of your upperclassmen, more experienced receivers. Now he's gone. I think you have to bring in a veteran. And the way I see it, if Mizzou is bringing in a transfer quarterback like Miller Moss, who I talked about in an earlier video, that signifies to me that you're trying to do something next year. You're trying to win. You're trying to compete for a championship. And I don't see why you would add one of the best possible options at quarterback in the portal, but wouldn't add a receiver. Like, the goal is to add as much talent as possible at every single position. You shouldn't stop at wide receiver because you like the young recruits that you have. I like the young recruits that they have too. There's a lot of promise, but again, not a lot of proven production. And if you're bringing in a veteran quarterback, you might as well bring in a veteran wide receiver to go with him so you can actually try to compete next year for a championship. Otherwise, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, you're either trying to go all in, trying to win something that is meaningful, or you're trying to rebuild and reload with a bunch of underclassmen. I think you're trying to win a championship. So you have to attack the wide receiver position in the portal as well. And it's also not impossible that Mizzou could lose another receiver at some point to the transfer portal. You know, I'm not trying to play doomer or anything like that, but I mean, transfer portal, sometimes you never know. And also injuries can happen, then you can get thin pretty quickly. Like if Marquise Johnson or Joshua Manning are to go down at some point next year, and we saw Marquise Johnson go down with an ankle injury just this past season, you're kind of thin there. I mean, most of those guys have hardly even taken any snaps in the regular season. Daniel Blood, James Madison, Courtney Crutchfield, those are guys that didn't really get that much experience this past year. Now we're just going to expect them to be contributing players at the wide receiver position in the SEC. Yeah, no, go and get a proven guy. So those are my thoughts on the wide receiver position for Mizzou going forward after the transfer of Makai Miller. But that's really all I have for this video. Just wanted to update you guys on Mizzou's first real loss in the NCAA Transfer Portal. Makai Miller is moving on elsewhere. We wish him luck moving forward, but I want to hear what you guys have to say, what your thoughts are on Makai Miller entering the transfer portal. If you have any additional thoughts, we'd like to hear from you. But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com for more. And I'll see you all in the next one. MIZ.